The day Mr. Colede stole the pot of soup, he did not know it would be the last peaceful day of his life. He only knew two things that afternoon. He was hungry, and the smell coming from room 3 was too good to ignore. By the end of the week, that same man would be crying in front of the same tenants he once mocked, begging for help nobody was willing to give. But it all started with a pot of egusi soup. Ibadan heat had a way of entering people's bones, not the dramatic Lagos heat that came with noise and chaos. This one was quiet, heavy, suffocating. The kind that made grown men remove their shirts and sit under mango trees like tired goats. Mr. Colade sat on his plastic chair in the compound, singlet soaked with sweat, belly protruding like a half-filled sack of gari. His tenant had just returned from work. He could hear the familiar sounds, plates clinking, gas burners hissing, children laughing, and then that smell, the smell that made his stomach twist. Egusi, not just ordinary egusi. This one had scent leaf, crayfish, stockfish, and real meat, not those tiny K-Pomo scraps people use to manage poverty. His eyes moved slowly toward room 3. That was Amaka's room, the new tenant, young widow, quiet, always respectful, paid rent on time, never complained, and unfortunately for her, she cooked too well. Kolade swallowed hard. His wife had traveled to Osogbo 2 weeks earlier. Since then, he had been surviving on bread, fried egg, and sachet water. But this was a proper meal. His stomach growled so loudly, even the goat near the gate turned to look at him. God punish hunger, he muttered. The smell became stronger as Amaka opened her door briefly to pour water outside. Steam escaped, green-red soup, thick, rich. Kolade felt something dark rise inside him. She's just one tenant, and I'm the landlord. What's the big deal if I taste small? He stood up slowly, looked around the compound. No one was watching. Amaka had stepped out to take a phone call near the well. Her door was open. The pot was on the stove, big aluminum pot, still bubbling. Kolade entered like a thief. Not even shame slowed him down. He grabbed the pot, heart pounding, carried it into his own room, closed the door, sat on the bed, and laughed. Heh, God don't bless me today. He didn't even use a plate. He used a spoon straight from the pot. 1 spoon, 2 spoons, 5. He ate like a man who had been starved for years. Oil ran down his chin, meat stuck between his teeth. This girl sabi cook die, he said with a mouthful of food. Then he heard it. Amaka's voice. Wait, wait, where is my pot? His chewing stopped. He froze. Silence outside. Then confusion. Then panic. Where did I keep it? She said. Kolaid felt a cold wave pass through him. He looked at the pot. Half of it gone. And suddenly, for the first time, fear entered his mind. Not fear of being caught, but fear of something deeper. Because in that moment, he remembered something his late mother used to say. Never steal food meant for another person. Food carries prayers. He laughed it off. All people talk rubbish. He continued eating. Outside, Amaka's voice changed from confusion to worry to tears. God, this soup was for tomorrow's anniversary of my husband's death. Collard's spoon fell from his hand. Anniversary? Widow? He swallowed the food in his mouth like a stone. Too late. The soup was already inside him, and karma had already started cooking its own meal. Mr. Collada did not sleep well that night. At first, it was just discomfort, the normal kind, the type you feel after eating too much and lying down immediately. His stomach felt heavy, bloated, like someone poured cement inside it. He turned from side to side on his bed. Sweat soaked his pillow. Not this heat, he muttered. He stood up, opened the Ayatio window, and sat on the edge of the bed. That was when the pain started. Not sharp, not sudden, but deep. A slow, twisting pain that felt like fingers squeezing his intestines from the inside. He held his stomach. Ouch! Ouch! What is this? He stood up and walked toward the toilet. Halfway there, the pain doubled. He bent over, gasped, then vomited. Everything he had eaten came out. bread from morning, tea, egg, and then green oil, egusi, the soup. He stared at it on the floor. Something inside him shifted. This was not normal food poisoning. This felt intentional. He rinsed his mouth, tried to stand straight. Then the second wave came, stronger. His vision blurred. His knees buckled. He fell to the floor. Ah, God, my bell! He screamed, but no one came. The compound was silent. Only the sound of his breathing, fast and broken, like a man drowning in air. He crawled back to the bed, tried to sleep again, but every time he closed it, his eyes, he saw Amaka standing by a grave, holding that same pot of soup, looking at him, not angry, just disappointed. And then she said, "You ate what was meant for the dead." He woke up screaming. The next morning, by 6 a.m., the entire compound knew something was wrong. Mr. Colady did not come out to sit in his usual chair. He did not shout at the tenants. He did not collect water money. Instead, his door was locked, and strange sounds were coming from inside. Groaning, crying, weak coughing. One of the tenants, Baba Sadiq, knocked. "Oga landlord, you dey inside?" No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. Then they heard a loud thud. Something fell inside. They forced the door open, and what they saw shocked them. Mr. Colade was on the floor, foaming from the mouth, eyes rolled back, body shaking, convulsing, like a man possessed. "Jesus Christ! Allah, call ambulance." They rushed him to UCH Ibadan. Doctors ran tests, blood, stool, urine, scan. Everything came back normal. Yet the man was screaming in pain like someone tearing him apart from inside. One doctor said quietly, "This is strange. There is no medical reason for this level of pain." Kolade looked at the ceiling. Tears streamed from his eyes, not from pain, from fear, because now he knew. This was not hospital sickness. This was consequence. Amaka did not sleep either. She cried all night, not because of the soup, but because of what it represented. That soup was special. She had cooked it for her late husband, Chinedu, 3 years dead, killed by armed robbers on his way back from work. Every year on the same date, she cooked his favorite meal and shared it with neighbors. It was her only ritual, her only connection, and it had been stolen. She sat on her bed hugging the empty pot. God, why is my life like this? She didn't know who took it, but deep down she suspected, and her heart felt heavy, not angry, just tired. On the third day in the hospital, Mr. Kolade could no longer talk. His tongue was swollen, his stomach was distended. He looked like a pregnant man. Doctors were confused. They had never seen anything like it. That was when his younger sister came and whispered something that changed everything. "There is a man in Oje Market, a spiritual man. He sees things doctors cannot see." Kolade could barely nod. They took him there. The man looked at him, did not touch him, just stared, then said, "You stole food meant for the dead." Collard screamed, "How? How do you know?" The man replied calmly, "Because your stomach is not sick, it is being judged." Silence. Then the man added, "You ate a prayer that was not meant for you, and now it is rewriting your destiny." Collade collapsed. For the first time in his life, he begged, "Please, help me. I will confess. I will return it." The man shook his head. "You cannot return what has already entered your blood." Back in the compound, Amaka cooked again. Same soup, same pot, same smell, and once again, Mr. Collade could smell it. From the hospital bed, from inside his dreams. The soup followed him, haunted him, tortured him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw himself eating and vomiting, over and over again. The same loop, the same scene, replaying. By the fifth day, Mr. Collade had become a shadow of himself. The man who once walked around the compound with his chest out, shouting at tenants and threatening eviction like a small local god, now lay on a hospital bed, looking like someone already halfway to the grave. His cheeks had sunken, his lips were dry and cracked, his eyes were yellow, and his His stomach had grown unnaturally big, not fat, not bloated. It looked wrong, like something was growing inside. Nurses whispered whenever they passed his bed, "Have you seen his file? There is nothing wrong with him medically. But look at him. He smells." Yes, he smelled. Even after bathing, even after changing sheets, there was a strange sour smell around him, like spoiled food, like old soup. Kolade could hear them, but he was too weak to argue, too weak to shout, too weak to even lift his hand. Inside him, the pain had changed. It was no longer just pain, it was pressure. A feeling like something was pushing outward, slowly, patiently, waiting to burst. At night it became worse. He would feel something move inside him. Not gas, not hunger. Movement, slow crawling, as if the soup he ate had turned into something alive. He pressed his hand against his stomach one night and screamed. He felt a kick. His younger sister Funke was the only one still visiting him. Everyone else had started avoiding him. Even his wife had refused to come back from Osogbo. She said she was not emotionally ready, but Funke stayed. And one night, when the ward was quiet and only the sound of machines filled the air, Kolade finally broke. He whispered, "I stole something." Funke leaned closer. "Stole what?" "A tenant soup." Funke frowned. "Soup? Is that why you're dying?" Kolade started crying, not the soft crying, the ugly kind, the kind where a grown man shakes like a child. It wasn't just soup, it was for her dead husband. Funke froze. "What?" "She cooked it for his anniversary. I ate it, from the pot." Funk slowly sat down. For a long time she said nothing. Then she whispered, "You ate food meant for the dead?" Kolade nodded. Funke covered her mouth. "In Yoruba culture, that was not just wrong, that was dangerous. Food prepared for the dead was considered sacred, spiritual, not meant to be touched by anyone else, especially not stolen." Funke stood up immediately. "This is beyond hospital." Back in the compound, the truth didn't stay in the hospital. It traveled, like gossip always does. First to Funke's friend, then to her neighbor, then to someone who knew someone who lived in Collard's compound. Within 2 days, everybody knew. The landlord stole a widow's soup. That's why he's sick. That's why his stomach is big. He ate food for the dead. Fear entered the compound. Tenants started avoiding Collade's room. Some removed their children's clothes from the line near his window. Some stopped greeting his wife. Some even stopped paying rent, saying, "Let him survive first." Amaka heard it last. She was washing clothes when one of the tenants whispered it to her. At first she laughed. "Please stop joking." But the woman swore, "I heard it from his sister." Amaka's hands froze in the water. Her heart started beating fast. So it was him, the landlord, the one who smiled at her, the one who greeted her every morning, the one who told her sorry for your loss every year. He was the one who stole it. Something inside her cracked. Not anger, not revenge, just deep silent pain. She went into her room and locked the door, sat on the bed, and cried like she had not cried since her husband died. That night, Amaka had a dream. She was standing in the same kitchen, the same pot, but this time her husband was there, Chinedu, alive, smiling, healthy. He held her hand and said, "Do not pray for him." Amaka woke up shaking. Her pillow was soaked with tears. She didn't know why, but her heart felt heavy, as if something irreversible had already been decided. A week later, Kolade was discharged, not because he was better, but because the doctors had nothing else to do. They could not diagnose him, could not treat him, could not explain him. He returned to the compound like a ghost, thin, weak, bent. The same tenants he once shouted at now watched him with fear and disgust. Some avoided eye contact, some whispered openly. Children ran away from him. One woman even said loudly, "That's what happens when you steal from widows." Kolade heard it, and for the first time he felt shame, real shame, not pride, not anger, just the crushing weight of public disgrace. He entered his room. collapsed on the bed, and the pain returned immediately, stronger than ever. His stomach moved again, this time visibly. The skin rippled, like something trying to escape. Kolade screamed. He rolled on the floor, banged on the wall. Amaka, please, I'm sorry, please. But Amaka did not come out. She was inside her room, praying silently, not for revenge, not for healing, just for peace. Someone in the compound cooked egusi, the same smell. Once again, Kolade smelled it, and once again. His stomach twisted. The same loop, the same sin, the same consequence. The soup that entered him would never leave, not as food, but as judgment. By the second week of Mr. Collade's return to the compound, fear had replaced normal life. Not ordinary fear, not the kind that comes from armed robbers or police. This was the kind of fear that made people whisper even in daylight, the kind that made women lock their doors before 6 p.m., the kind that made children stop playing in the compound, because Mr. Collade was no longer just sick. He had become something people could not explain. Every night, his screams echoed through the compound, not normal human screams, not I'm in pain screams. These ones sounded like someone arguing with invisible beings. Please, I didn't know. I swear I will return it. Leave me alone. Sometimes he laughed, sometimes he cried, sometimes he spoke in Yoruba, mixed with words nobody understood, and sometimes he spoke in Amaka's voice. That was when the tenants became truly afraid. It was around 1:17 a.m. The compound was quiet. No generator, no traffic, only insects. Then suddenly from Kolade's room, Chinedu, I've cooked your soup. Amaka sat up on her bed instantly. Her heart nearly stopped. That was her voice, not similar, not close, exact same tone, same softness, same rhythm. Then Kolade's voice followed, deeper, hoarse. Why did you let me eat it? Then again her voice, you were hungry. Then his, but it was not for me. Then silence, long silence, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Amaka started shaking. She wrapped her wrapper tighter around herself, whispered, God, what is happening? From that night, she stopped sleeping. Funke insisted they try church first, a powerful church, one of those prayer ministries outside Ibadan, where people testified about HIV disappearing, madness turning to sanity, wombs opening after 20 years. They carried Kolade there. Two men had to support him. He was no longer walking properly. His legs dragged like dead weight. His stomach now looked hard, like a drum. Inside the church, the pastor looked at him and paused, not in confidence, in confusion. During prayer, the pastor laid hands on Kolade. Immediately, Kolade screamed, not pain, anger. Remove your hand. The pastor staggered back. The whole church went silent. Kolade started laughing, but the laughter wasn't his. It was thin, mocking, almost feminine. You cannot pray this one away. The pastor dropped the microphone. Sweat poured from his face. This is not ordinary. They ended the service early and quietly told Funke, take him home. This is beyond it. Deliverance. Next was a famous herbalist in Oyo town. Old man, long beard. People said he cured snake bites, barrenness, madness. The herbalist didn't even allow Kolade to enter his shrine. He just looked at him from the gate, then said, this man is already sharing space with something else. Funke asked, can you remove it? The old man shook his head slowly. No, because it was invited through the mouth. Funke felt cold. What does that mean? The old man replied, some foods are not food. They are agreements. He refused to take their money. He refused to touch Kolade. He closed his gate. Kolade's wife, Bola, finally came back, but not out of love, out of shame. People in Osogbo had started whispering, your husband ate food for the dead. Your husband is cursed. Your husband is turning into something. She came to see with her own eyes. The moment she entered the room, she covered her nose. Why does it smell like a mortuary? Kolade tried to smile. Bola, my wife. She looked at his stomach and screamed, what is that? His belly moved, slow, like something breathing inside. Bola stepped back. This is not my husband. Kolade started crying. Please, don't leave me. Bola shook her head. You brought this on yourself. She packed her things, left the compound, and never returned. Amaka couldn't take it anymore. The screams, the voice, the smell, the whispers, the guilt, the dreams. She went to Kolade's door for the first time, knocked. Everyone watched from their windows. Kolade opened the door slowly. When he saw her, he collapsed, literally fell to the floor, held her legs, crying, Please, forgive me. I didn't know. Amaka looked at him, and what she felt shocked even her. Not anger, not hatred, pity, deep, painful pity. She said quietly, I would have shared it with you if you had asked. Those words broke him more than any sickness. He screamed. The thing inside his stomach moved violently. The skin stretched. For the first time, everyone saw a hand shape press outward from inside his belly, like something trying to escape. Women screamed, children ran, men stepped back. Amaka fainted. That night, Kolade dreamed of the same day again. Same heat, same smell, same open door, same pot, same decision. But this time, when he lifted the pot, it was heavy, too heavy. He looked inside and saw his own face, floating in a goosey soup, dead. Suffering used to be private in Nigeria. People cried behind closed doors. Families handled their shame in silence. Neighbors whispered, but the world never knew. But this was 2026, and suffering no longer stayed hidden. Someone in the compound recorded a video, just 15 seconds. That was all it took. The video showed Mr. Collard sitting on the floor of his room, shirtless, stomach swollen like a pregnant woman, crying and begging in a weak voice. I ate it. I shouldn't have eaten it. Please forgive me. The person filming added text. Ibadan landlord stole widow's soup meant for dead husband. Now look at him. They posted it on TikTok. By morning, it had 40,000 views. By afternoon, 300,000. By night, it was on Instagram blogs. By the next day, it was on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp groups, even church groups. Nigeria had found a new topic. People reacted in different ways. Some laughed. Nah, film. This one don't overact. Content creators these days. Some were afraid. Food for the dead is serious. My grandmother warned me about this. This is spiritual. Some were cruel. So he didn't know how to mind his business? Good for him. Let him suffer. And some recognized him. Omo, I know this man. He's my uncle's landlord in Ibadan. This thing is real, oh. Soon journalists started calling. Bloggers wanted interviews. A YouTube channel even came to the compound. They brought a microphone. They wanted Amaka to talk. She refused. She didn't want fame. She didn't want attention. She just wanted peace. But Kolade became Nigeria's newest urban legend. They called him the Soup Man, the cursed landlord, a goosey ghost, man who ate the dead, and every new name made his condition worse. The fame made him sicker. The more people talked, the more his stomach grew. Not fat, not bloated, expanded, like something inside was feeding on attention, on shame, on exposure, on collective energy. He could no longer stand, he could no longer sleep, he could no longer eat. Any food he swallowed came back out. Only water stayed, and even that burned. One night, he looked at his phone, saw his own face on a blog headline. Ibadan landlord eats widow's soup, now pregnant with karma. He screamed and threw the phone. His reflection on the broken screen stared back at him. Distorted, ugly, unrecognizable. He whispered, I have become a meme. And that thought hurt him more than the pain. Because suffering is one thing, but being entertaining while suffering is another kind of hell. Reporters started harassing Amaka, waiting outside the compound, knocking on her door, calling her phone. Madam, can you confirm the soup story? Madam, do you feel guilty? Madam, do you believe you cursed him? Amaka felt trapped. She stopped going out, stopped answering calls, stopped cooking in the open, stopped living. One evening, she broke down, not because of Kolade, but because she felt her husband's memory was being turned into content, into clicks, into comedy. She knelt down and prayed, God, I didn't ask for this. That night she dreamed again. Chinedu stood beside a river. He said, people are watching the punishment, but they don't understand the lesson. She asked, what lesson? He replied, greed always eats itself. She woke up crying. The compound became famous. Strangers came to take pictures. Some came to mock. Some came to pray. Some came to live stream. The tenants couldn't handle it anymore. Rent value dropped. People avoided the area. Children were being bullied in school. Your landlord is cursed. Finally, the tenants held a meeting. They stood outside Collard's door, and for the first time, they spoke to him not as landlord, but as a problem. You have brought disgrace to this compound. You must leave. We cannot live with this anymore. Collard laughed weakly. Leave? I cannot even walk. One man replied coldly, then die somewhere else. Those words cut deep. Collade realized something terrifying. The people he once controlled now wanted him gone, not healed, not saved, just removed. The body starts rejecting him on the third week of the viral fame. Something new happened. His skin started peeling, not like normal dryness. It peeled in patches. Underneath, it was dark and rough, like burnt soup. His nails fell off one by one. His hair thinned, and the smell became unbearable. It wasn't decay, it was food gone bad, like his body was turning into the same thing he stole, a container, a pot, something that held rot. He looked at himself in the mirror and whispered, I am becoming the soup. Every night the same thought returned. What if I had just asked? That question haunted him. Not the sickness, not the pain, not the public shame. Just that one simple truth. If he had knocked on her door and said, please, I'm hungry, she would have shared it, and his life would still be normal. But he didn't ask. He took. And now life was taking him back. Slowly, piece by piece. It started with his mouth, not his voice. His mouth. Kolade woke up one morning and realized something was wrong before he even opened his eyes. His lips were moving, slowly, silently, as if whispering to someone he couldn't see. He tried to speak, but the words that came out were not his. I was hungry. Kolade froze. That was his voice, but he didn't say that. His mouth moved again. She cooked well. His heart started racing. He tried to cover his mouth with his hand, but his lips kept moving under his palm. I didn't think it mattered. Tears rolled down his face. He whispered inside his mind, stop, please stop. But his body did not listen. It was like something else had taken control of the main stage, and he was now just an audience inside his own skin. Funke walked in. She saw him sitting on the bed, hand over his mouth, eyes wide with terror. Brother, what is wrong? Kolade removed his hand slowly. His mouth spoke immediately. She should have locked her door. Funke screamed. She stepped back. That's not you. Kolade shook his head violently. His mouth continued. If she didn't want me to eat it, why did she leave it there? Funke burst into tears. Oh God, something has entered you. Kolade was crying and shaking, but his mouth kept talking, confessing, explaining, justifying, arguing, like a recorded tape playing his guilt on repeat. He couldn't stop it. Funke made the mistake of recording it. She wanted proof. She wanted help. But the moment she sent it to a prayer group, it escaped. The video showed Kolade crying while his own mouth spoke calmly, almost proudly about stealing the soup. It went viral faster than the first one. This time, people were not laughing, they were scared. This is possession. This is not acting. This is spiritual judgment. This man is finished. Even pastors began making sermons about him, using his video as an example. He ate what was not his, and now even his body has become a witness against him. Kolade became a living parable, a warning story, a moral lesson with a pulse. The pressure broke Amaka. She agreed to one interview, just one, a small YouTube channel. She sat with no makeup, no drama, just truth. She said, I never cursed him. I never prayed for his downfall. I only cried. Then she paused and added softly, but my husband always said, when you cheat someone who is already suffering, the universe remembers. That sentence spread everywhere. People quoted it, printed it, turned it into captions, and Kolade saw it, and something inside him snapped. Not fear, not pain, regret, real regret, the kind that comes when you realize the punishment is fair. From that day, his body turned into a courtroom. Every morning, his mouth would speak without permission, replaying memories he tried to forget. How he once increased rent for a struggling family, how he once locked a tenant out for being 1 week late, how he once collected inspection money, how he once lied about repairs. The soup was not the first thing he stole. It was just the last straw, the final signature on a long list of small evils. And now his body was presenting evidence. One confession per day, one memory per night. He begged, he cried, he prayed, but the testimony continued. One night, Colada dreamed he was in a courtroom. The judge was himself, older, thinner, rotten. The prosecutor was a marker, silent, just. Standing there, the jury were his tenants. The verdict board had only one word, guilty. He woke up screaming, and his mouth said calmly, I agree. The most terrifying moment came on a Sunday afternoon. Amaka passed his door. Kolade was sitting inside, silent, weak. She didn't plan to talk to him, but as she passed, his mouth spoke, in her husband's voice, not Kolade's, Chinedu's, soft, gentle. Amaka, it's okay. She collapsed. People rushed her. Kolade started screaming, not out loud, inside. Why is it using his voice? His mouth continued, Forgiveness is not for me, it's for you. Amaka fainted again. Kolade lost consciousness. When he woke up, he could no longer move his legs. That night, the same loop returned. Same dream, same kitchen, same pot, same smell. But this time, when he reached for the soup, his hands passed through it. He couldn't touch it anymore. It was no longer food. It was memory, and memory cannot be returned. By the time the live stream was scheduled, Mr. Kolade could no longer stand. He could no longer walk. He could barely sit. Only his eyes still worked properly, and even those looked tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from lack of sleep, the kind that comes from seeing too much truth. His legs were fully paralyzed now. His fingers barely moved. His stomach had stopped growing, but it had become hard like stone, shaped unnaturally like a sealed pot. Doctors had stopped visiting. Pastors had stopped calling. Herbalists had blocked Funky's number. The internet, however, had not stopped watching, because the YouTube channel that first interviewed Amaka had announced something crazy. We will be going live with the cursed landlord himself. Nigeria waited. They set him up in his own room. Ring light, phone stand, two young YouTubers, one microphone over. 12,000 people joined within the first minute. Comments flooded the screen. Is this real? This man again? Egusi uncle. God forgive us. Natural life horror movie be this. The YouTuber spoke. Good evening, everyone. Today we are here with Mr. Kolade, the landlord from Ibadan, whose story went viral after he allegedly stole his tenant's soup meant for her late husband. The word allegedly made Kolade's mouth move by itself. I stole it. The room went silent. The chat exploded. Jesus! He admitted, this is real. The YouTuber froze. Sir, can you tell us why you did it? Kolade tried to close his mouth, but his lips moved anyway. I was hungry. Simple. No drama, no excuses, just truth. One of the YouTubers, trying to lighten the tension, turned to the camera and said, Guys, if you're watching this live, drop where you're watching from in the comments and drop your country flag if you're proud of your country. Let's see how far this story has reached. The comments exploded, watching from Lagos, Ghana, South Africa, UK, USA, Kenya, Nigeria, over 30,000 live viewers. Khaled stared at the screen. people from all over the world, watching him rot in real time. He whispered inside himself, "So this is my legacy." The YouTuber asked the last question. If you could go back to that day, what would you do differently? Kolade's mouth moved slowly, carefully. I would knock. Silence. I would ask. More silence. I would not take what is not mine. Tears rolled from his eyes. Real tears, not fear, not pain, regret. Then something happened. For the first time in weeks, his mouth stopped moving. He was in control. He took a deep breath, looked directly into the camera, and spoke with his own will. To anyone watching, greed is small, but its punishment is big. I thought it was just soup, but it was respect, it was memory, it was love, and I stole it. His voice cracked. I am not cursed, I am responsible. The room went quiet. Even the comments slowed. Then something nobody expected happened. A new user joined the live. Username Amaka C. The YouTuber gasped, "Wait, is this Amaka?" The account sent a message, "Yes, I'm here." Everyone froze. The YouTuber turned the phone to Khaled. "Sir, Amaka is watching." Khaled's entire body shook. He whispered, "I am sorry." Amaka typed, "I know." Another message appeared. "I forgave you a long time ago, but forgiveness doesn't cancel consequences." Khaled closed his eyes, and for the first time since everything started, his stomach stopped hurting. The pressure disappeared. The movement stopped. The room became still, too still. Kolade took one last breath, not a gasp, not a struggle, a calm breath, like someone finally laying down after a long journey. Then he smiled, just slightly, and said softly, "Chinedu, I understand now." And his eyes closed. The live stream froze. The chat went mad. Is he sleeping? Is he dead? Bro, check him! Funke screamed. The YouTuber rushed forward, checked his pulse, looked up slowly. There is no heartbeat. Mr. Kolade died on live video in front of over 41,000 people. The video went global. BBC picked it up. CNN Africa mentioned it. Blogs titled it, "The Man Who Confessed His Sin and Died on Livestream." But the strangest part, when they prepared his body for burial, the doctors found something impossible. His stomach was empty, no fluid, no growth, no abnormality, completely normal, like nothing had ever been there, like whatever was inside him had finally left. Amaka moved out of the compound, started a small food business, named it Chinedu's Kitchen. She cooked for widows, fed people for free every anniversary, and every year on that same day, she cooked egusi soup. But now, she shared it with everyone. Somewhere in Ibadan today, a landlord will smell food from a tenant's room. He will feel hunger. He will feel temptation. And he will remember the story of Mr. Kolede. And hopefully, he will knock instead of steal.